Well, for those of you that are here, welcome for the Heart-to-Heart Leader Chat, planning trips and travel. And before we start today, I know that Mariella has talked a little bit about the flow of the webinar and how to use the chat box. We will have everyone on mute during the presentation to allow for a clear audio. You can ask questions by typing in the chat box on the bottom of the control panel, and there will also be plenty of time at the end for questions. So if you jot those down, we can also answer those at the end. My name is Connie Moore, and I'm the membership team leader in the Saginaw region. And presenting today with me is Erin Madamo, program specialist in Ypsilanti Ann Arbor region. And coordinating the technical aspects and helping out is Mariella Rua from the Adult Recruitment and Education Specialist in the Kalamazoo region. Also on our webinar today is Barb Hinton. She is a Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan Board of Trustee member and second vice chair, as well as the member advisory committee. I didn't know if Barb, you wanted to say a few words?
Thank you. I certainly would just like to welcome everyone to the Heart-to-Heart Leader Chat. Thank you for your participation. It's great to see so many folks be interested in the topic. And as a representative of the Member Advisory Committee, we're always looking for feedback. And so following this Heart-to-Heart Chat, if you have any ideas for our future chats that would interest you, please let us know. Just type it in the box or send one of us an email note, because certainly when we have a topic that people are interested in, a lot of representatives attend, and so we're very interested in meeting your needs. And with that, I'll just close with thanks to the staff for doing such a great job of presenting this information and sharing it with all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. So on our agenda today, we are going to talk about planning trips and going on trips and the different kinds of adventures for Girl Scouting. And we hope that this will open up a dialogue about how trips and travel can really enrich the Girl Scout leadership experience, and how those experiences can be girl-led and have all the other components that really and truly provide outcomes for our girls. We'll start by thinking about planning a Girl Scout adventure or a trip. And when we look at if a troop is getting ready to travel, we should probably first consider whether the girls are mature enough to handle the trip. To determine a troop's readiness for travel, you should think about the girls and think about these things. Is she able to be away from parents and their homes? Is she able to adapt to unfamiliar surroundings and situations? Can she make decisions well and easily? Is she able to get along with others and handle challenges? Can she work as a team? And does she have any skills or interests that are needed in order to be successful on the trip? And so those are just a few of the considerations when you're thinking about, we have a group of girls and we want to do some adventuring. The trip planning home study must be completed by an adult who will be with Girl Scouts on any trip away from the regular meeting place. This course is completed by printing the trip planning home study course and the trip planning test from the Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan website. Once you turn in the completed test to a regional center, you'll receive credit for the class. The class covers planning, budgeting, safety, as well as forms, and how to know if your girls and adults are ready for a trip. There are ways to know if adults are ready to go on a trip as well. There are forms, and one of the largest, most important forms is the parent permission form, because every time you take a girl, you need to have permission from her parents. Even if the parents or guardian will be there on site, or if they are driving them there, every trip needs to have written permission forms. Additionally, in this training, it covers safety. The safety activity checkpoints are the Girl Scout leader's guide to going on trips and activities that might be high adventure. And you'll want to look in the safety activity checkpoints in your volunteer essentials or I'm sorry, not in Volunteer Essentials, but on the website, and it's in the same section as the trip and travel training, in the volunteer section under resources, and then you scroll down to safety activity checkpoints. For each specific activity, there'll be equipment, safety considerations, and maybe certification for instructors or activity supervisors. Every trip that a troop or a group of Girl Scouts takes must have the appropriate girl-adult ratio. And again, in order to have a safe adventure for your girls, using safety activity checkpoints is very, very important. Girl Scout trips and travel are opportunities for girls to experience activities that can produce life-changing outcomes as they discover, connect, and take action. The leadership keys of Discover, where girls develop skills about and learn about themselves. Connect, girls practice being in teams and being responsible. And Take Action, where girls can become problem solvers and perhaps even help out in the community that they belong to. Girl Scouts of all ages can participate in activities and trips with the role of the volunteer leaders changing as the girls' readiness, experience, and skills increase. The role is going to be constantly changing of that leader, depending on where the girls are. This progression allows girls to share an increasing role in the planning and implementation of the activities that they complete. While the processes we use in Girl Scouts remain the same, girl-led, learn by doing, and cooperative learning, the actual roles that girls and adults play are largely determined by the age, maturity, and skill level of the girls. Using the girl-led process, girls have an active part in deciding the what, when, where, and how of the trip. The ability to do this will be determined by their age and intellectual development. Girls who are allowed to make decisions become better decision makers and problem solvers. The process of learn by doing is where the trip has hands-on activities and includes reflection or talking about what they learned. The continuous circle of action and reflection makes this process more meaningful, where learning is memorable and they increase retention of skills and concepts. You here at home. Who share common experiences will be prepared to reflect on what they learned and to plan future activities based on those decisions. The last process that we always try to use in Girl Scouting is cooperative learning. And that means that all members of the group work together, regardless of talents and abilities, in a safe and nurturing place. As trips and activities become larger and more adventurous, girls get older and take on more responsibility and control. They also form closer relationships with members of the group. They learn to trust and to be trusted. I'd like to pose a few thoughts, and I'm hoping that we can perhaps put some answers up in the chat box for these things to think about. The first one is, how can we encourage girls to plan trips and travel that have opportunities for learning and personal growth? And I'm hoping that we have some thoughts on that.
So far, there are no thoughts in the chat box. So, I'll be happy to unmute anybody too. If you would like to be unmuted, let me know in the chat box, and I'll be happy to do that if you want to contribute. Thanks. Okay, we had a participant here that said discussions with the girls is one, and what do they want to do? The same participant said those. Discussions with the girls, what they want to do. What do they want to do?
Great, excellent.
Have them look through the source and discuss what opportunities appeal to them. Share examples from other troops. Have the girls check for prices.
All great suggestions. One of the things we want to do is to continue to encourage girls to explore different ideas and different topics based on their needs and their interests. And so those are all great ideas. The other thing that can be done is relating the trip or activity to the actual badges, journeys, or awards that they're working on. And then possibly creating a trip for learning or maybe even a service or take action project rather than a year-end trip where it seems as if it's a reward for completing a year of Girl Scouting, to really have some motivation behind that. The second question is, how do we communicate with families to make sure girls are ready to take a trip and that they support their daughter's participation? We hear this a lot, that a leader takes a lot of time and effort with the girls to plan a trip, and then possibly there are girls who don't participate because maybe the parents aren't on board. How can we solve that problem?
We had one more suggestion left over from the first question, Connie, and that was, I'll read that real quick, but it was have the girls discuss what they want to learn and find our activities that allow for growth.
Excellent.
And regarding the second, how do we communicate with families? Have a parent meeting with the girls. Another participant also put whole parent meetings to see if there are issues and have the parents volunteer.
Good one.
Touch base with parents upon pickup or drop off. And then this is a challenge. We use Facebook to post events.
Okay.
And one more over here. You could have parents help the girls choose the dates and or times for the event to be sure that they have it on their calendar before you start planning.
Great ideas. Great ideas.
And one last one here. Oh, two more. Sorry, they keep coming here.
Good.
Have the girls present to the parents their ideas about travel. And here, the last one, have a meeting during the product program time and letting them know how many cookies they will need to sell to help with the trip.
All righty. Is that about it?
That is about it. Yep.
If we have more ideas.
Yeah. No, not for now.
All right. One of the things that I kind of wrote down as a brainstorm was to actually talk to girls and families to find out about the skill level and the experience that girls have had before, to find out if the family is a traveling family or if travel is something that makes them nervous. And so this could also be affecting whether or not, if you're not communicating about individual girls, that you might not understand why a family chooses not to participate. So all good ideas to communicate with the families and how to catch them and get them involved in the activities. The last question is, how does the troop balance the budget to do all the things it wants to do? Regular troop activities, source programs, and the trips and travel that the girls all love.
Brandon, you want to reach over here and grab the mail for me?
We had one idea over here. Have the girls see how many trips or activities that they want to do, and also see how much it would cost for all the girls to go in the trip. Do research, prioritize, and reassess. Another participant said that we have the girls vote on what they want to do.
I think that one of the largest things a troop leader can do when they're planning with travel and with girls is to balance the decision making based on what girls want and what they need, and making decisions based on maybe money facts, maybe distance facts, maybe readiness of the girls, and make those decisions rather than promising girls at the get-go and finding out that that trip can't happen because of one reason or another. And so I think that's a big one, is to make sure that you're planning activities that don't disappoint the girls. And part of that is to be very honest with the budgeting and deciding how much money and how many, like a previous commenter said, how many cookies do they really have to sell in order to afford to go on the trip that they're planning? And what are they going to do to support and to do treats, breeds, and maybe have nut huts in order to support those trips. But also to preserve enough funding so that they're doing regular activities as well, and not spending every bit of the troop treasury and saving it for a troop trip when the day-to-day programming in their troop meetings also needs to be considered. Well, thank you everyone for your input on those questions. The next section is about trip and travel forms. And this is just a quick recap of the forms that are required for most trips. Most trips require, every trip requires a parent permission form and a health history form for each participant. Most trips over 50 miles, one way, or any overnight require a troop trip application form. If you have drivers providing rides to girls who are not their family members, you're also going to need a driver's forms completed. And you may or may not need additional form and payment if you have non-registered participants in your trip or activity. One of the questions that comes up a lot is if you are taking families on trips. And I think one of the big suggestions, because we hear a lot that, why is this extra additional insurance needed? And it's basically because Girl Scout insurance covers registered participants. A suggestion is that if you're planning a trip, and in order to make that trip successful, every parent has to attend with a girl, perhaps the trip is beyond the level of the girl's readiness. Because if a girl is ready to go on a trip with a troop leader and co-leader and maybe some extra parents, then perhaps that's a better idea than trying to force everyone to go on a trip with their daughter and have a family trip. And so that all feeds into when do you need additional insurance and when can you not have that additional expense. The expense is not very great, and perhaps you're going to want to have a trip where every family member attends, and it's maybe a family event. But when you consider paperwork and completing the forms and planning a trip, it is much easier to plan a trip for you and your troop rather than making it a family trip. There are some trips that require extra paperwork and extra activities. For instance, a global travel ticket is needed if you're planning an overseas or out-of-the-country trip, an international trip. Longer trips require health examination with a doctor's physical for each participant rather than just a health history form. There's also a different form for international trip applications than for regular troop trips, and those need to be turned in at least 6 months and preferably a year before international travel. In addition, many trips require documents for lifeguards or special instructors. And then there is also insurance that if you're on a very long or large trip, provides not only accident insurance but also some health coverage. But that is another type of insurance for longer, more extensive trips. So you can see that depending on where you're going will determine the trip and whether or not insurance is needed. Attached to your email for this presentation was the trip and activity requirements guide. And this is available on the website, and you should have it. It's not meant to be a visual on this presentation, just so that you can recognize this is what the handout looks like. But it really does list for every kind of trip the kind of paperwork or forms that are needed, and also what else you need in order to go on that trip. So basic documentation so that you have it right at your fingertips and you can easily see what is needed and check those items off. And now I would like to hand this over to Erin, and she will talk about the types of trips. Is Erin unmuted, Mariella?
Yes, I will work on that right now. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Travel is a fabulous opportunity for girls to experience the Girl Scout leadership experience and the progression and all of our outcomes. So this next part, I'm going to talk about different types of trips that you can take with your troops or with your girls. So on this slide, we have the type of trip. We've got day trips, overnight, high adventure, getaways, international events, and international travel. So you can see the examples there. A day trip, a really great example of that would be anything from source program, going to the museum, going to a zoo, anything you're going to do in a day. Overnight trips, pretty self-explanatory. Maybe you're going to do a camp-in at a museum. Maybe you are going to rent one of Girl Scout Heart of Michigan's camp properties and do an outing with the Girl Scouts over the weekend. So there are lots of options there. High adventure activities, swimming, water parks, skiing. Now, anytime we're talking about trips or any Girl Scout activities, we always want to make sure that we are following our safety activity checkpoints. So you'll see things like bungee jumping is not a high adventure activity. Things like the large-scale trampoline outings, also not a Girl Scout activity, not high adventure. So there are some things that do not fall into our travel opportunities, but we still have plenty. Getaways, these are something that you will find on Girl Scouts of the United States of America's website. And getaways are a really great opportunity for troops to travel together, especially if it's your first time. So this would be working with a provider, and you call up that provider, you say, hey, I've got girls that are in 4th and 5th grade, and we'd like to go to Chicago and see Wicked. And that provider is gonna help you work through all the details for that trip. And there are wonderful first time, if you've not planned travel before with your troops, this is a good place to start. International events, these there are, as you know, we are part of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouting. So there are girls all over the world, and there are offering travel opportunities for Girl Scouts and Girl Guides. So these might include international camporees. It might be meeting up with a Girl Guide group someplace else. So there are international events available as well. These can be found on GSUSA's website with getaways and destinations. International travel, this is anytime you're going out of the United States, Canada, Mexico, Europe, and this is something that the girls can plan on their own. This could be something that maybe you're working with a travel agency. Another opportunity for international travel is destinations, and these are programs that are offered through GSUSA. Can we go to the next slide? Great. Destinations. So these are individual travel opportunities for girls between the ages of 11 and 18. This involves an application process. Girls can apply for up to 4 events, and they are selected to go on a trip. The providers for these trips are similar. It's a similar partnership with GSUSA like we have with our source providers. So Outward Bound, Alpine Travel Services. There are a lot of organizations that offer travel opportunities, international travel opportunities for individual girls. So here you can see our timeline for those applications. And February 18th is the late application due date. So if you still have girls who are interested in participating in destinations, they can still apply to do that. And if you want to send in an application, you can email that to me at madamo@gshom.org. You can also send it to your local regional center, and they will get that to me. So these trips are wonderful because they're gonna cover STEM. They're going to be outdoor, or they're going to look at adventure. The girls might go to one of the world centers. Every travel opportunity involves some sort of service as well, and getting involved with the local community. So they really are a great opportunity for girls who are ready to go on an international trip by themselves, yet still in with a group of Girl Scouts. They make new friends that they're gonna keep for the rest of their lives. Next slide.
There is a question, Erin, about financial assistance for destinations.
Okay.
Where is financial assistance available?
Yes, there is financial aid available for destinations, and you can apply to GSHOM. You can also, depending on the destination that a Girl Scout is accepted to, her provider may also offer financial aid. So Alpine Training Services, Outward Bound, both of those offer financial aid. So there is financial aid available. At no time is the entirety of the cost of the trip covered, but it does, the girls everybody gets something. So yeah, there are lots of financial aid opportunities. Do you have any other questions at this time? All right. Additional insurance. So anytime you go on a trip, you need to purchase additional insurance. All of us as members of GSUSA are covered by basic insurance. So anytime you are doing a Girl Scout event or activity, if you're going on a trip, Plan 2 is your basic. If you're doing something such as international, Plan 3 PI, you see down there at the bottom, that's the one that you want to have for your trip. So all of these things, if you're unsure, please give us a call. We can help you out with what the appropriate insurance is. But this helps to make sure that everybody is covered no matter what type of trip you are attending.
And just to reinforce, Erin, insurance is not needed if every person on the trip or activity is a registered member, unless it's over 2 nights. If it's 3 nights or more, then additional insurance is needed. But if it's 2 nights or less and every person, adult and girl, is a registered member, then additional insurance is not needed. But again, you can call your membership specialist or the regional office and get more information about additional insurance. Especially if you complete a trip application form, your membership specialist should be able to consult with you and let you know if additional insurance is needed too.
Connie, there was a question in the chat box too. If girls from a different troop go on our day trip, they are covered, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next slide.
Before we open it up,
Sorry, Connie. Yeah, so now we're going to open it up for questions. So if anybody has any questions, let us know.
we have a little prize, and before the session started, we decided that the first person who typed in some feedback in the chat box would receive a small prize. And so, if I can, oh, sorry, that is not the small prize. The small prize is this. And the winner is Deanna Zarowitz from Lansing. And so I will make sure that you get your prize delivered to Lansing. Reva is here today, so she'll be able to take it to you, and you can pick it up at the regional office. Are there any questions?
There's a question here. Do adult drivers need to be a registered Girl Scout? Sorry, adult drivers need to be registered Girl Scout. That was a question.
Okay, great. What I'm trying to do is I had marked some pages in Volunteer Essentials. And so most of the questions that we have about travel can be answered with Volunteer Essentials. And on page 63, it states that every driver must be an approved adult. That means they need to have a background check completed and have a good driving record, a valid license, and a registered insured vehicle. And so there is no requirement they have to be an adult member, just that they have to pass a background check. And that you want to have the driver's form completed so that the driver is signing the form that says they do have insurance and a valid license. Additionally, if a troop volunteer, a troop leader, or someone, if you have a parent who's going to drive and it appears that the car is not safe, or you've witnessed, you can always make the decision not to have that person be a driver for you. Any more questions, comments?
There was a question too, how long does it usually take for the trip application form? I believe for probably the membership specialist to review it and get back with the troop leader.
That depends on if you turn your initial trip application form to an area manager or an area team member, and how long it takes them to get it to your membership specialist. And so ideally, you should probably turn it in to your area manager if there's one in your area, and also send a copy to your membership specialist at the same time. And this would eliminate waiting. And once the membership specialist has that, it should turn over within a week. And what will happen is if the membership specialist sees that there's an area of concern in your trip application, they will give you a call or an email and try and clarify any problems that might be happening with the application. For instance, if you don't submit a roster, or if you are going swimming and don't submit a lifeguard certification.
There's one other question here. If parents are driving their child, is the driver form needed?
No.
Okay.
As long as they're not driving another non-related girl.
Another question right here, if your troop is attending an outing weekend at camp out at Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan facilities that are offered in the source, do you still need to complete the troop trip form?
No, you do not need to complete a trip form if you're going to our properties. The only difference when you might have to complete a trip form going to our properties, if your trip is longer than 2 nights and you'll need to purchase additional insurance. In order to purchase additional insurance, you need a trip form with the additional insurance form. At this point, if there's any other questions regarding this heart-to-heart leader chat, or if you have suggestions, as Barb asked, if you have suggestions for future heart-to-heart leader chats, please feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can email us in order to get that information so that we can make plans and offer some more enrichment and information that you are looking for to help you out. Thanks, Katie.
Okay.
I guess we're going to be done.
Oh, there's suggestion for future chats, getting girls to work together. So I will jot that down right now, that idea.
Great.
I also wanted to mention that we were recording this webinar, and we will be posting it to our website as soon as the communications department reviews and edits what's necessary. So in a couple of weeks or sooner than that, it should be up on our website. And I don't know, Connie, if you want to show, or Robin, whoever has the controls, where the heart-to-heart leader chats, where we post them, or I can show participants.
Well, sure. Maybe not.
Okay. Do you want to, or do you want me to? Okay, there you go.
Yep.
So, volunteers. Actually, you want to register online. So if you click on.
Pardon?
No, but if you click on volunteers on our website, this is to show them where the recorded webinar was going to be in.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No. So in volunteers, training, and online. Yep.
Gotcha.
Online. There you go. So that's where all the recordings, all the heart-to-heart leader chats, that's where our communications department puts them in. And if you need to review this at a later time or share it with other volunteers in your troop, they are always available right here.
It's taking a long time to load.
There it is. Yep. You can see those. Yep. Thanks, Connie.
Ceremonies, flag etiquette. The other section that we were talking about in the training is click on resources. And the forms for travel and trips are here, including the home study course and the test, and then also the troop trip and activity application, and the requirement guide, which is the grid that explains about the different trips and the paperwork that's necessary, and the different kinds of insurance that's here, and the driver guidelines and the driver statement. And then safety activity checkpoints are also on the bottom of that same section. And so you just go to volunteer and resources, click on resource, and you can have access to all the forms and things that are needed to go on a trip. And the top section are the health history form, on the bottom section, that you would need to go on a trip as well. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you get something from this, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Connie. Thanks, Erin, too. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Mariella.
Thanks. Yep.